Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy, that it cannot hear. Thank you, Lord, that you hear our prayers, and that we ask that you move in the hearts of our MPs as they debate and soon vote. We ask that you turn the tide of destruction that is sweeping our nation and cause South Australia to lead the way and reject this evil bill. Help us to value all lives and love both the mother and the child. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so we just over a week ago that we were all in Walk for Life. If you weren't there, you missed something, but thank you for coming tonight. So here we are now at Parliament, and it was an amazing sight that we saw last Saturday week, when we actually, over the 1.8 kilometres of the circuit, we wrapped it with 5,000 people. Yeah. Your effort to stand for life has not gone unnoticed, and we are here again tonight to show our elected members of Parliament that South Australia will not back down when it comes to defending the most vulnerable among us. We would like to take this opportunity to finish our Walk for Life thank yous. What many of you didn't know was that up until 1 p.m. on the day before the walk, we actually didn't have approval. But we did get approval from SA Health for our COVID management plan at the last minute. The time, effort and resources that went into creating the plan was enormous, and it took over 200 volunteers to execute it. I know many of you must be here today that were part of our wonderful team, and we want to thank each and every one of you. Stakeholder, Adelaide City Council and Adelaide Oval would also like to thank for their ongoing support. There are a couple of things that we missed to tell you at the Walk for Life. If you haven't got one of our Love Them Both wristbands, they are here tonight. Please make sure you get one before you leave. There's something written inside of the band, and it says Pray 929. This is both a scripture and an action. We would like to invite everyone to put an alarm on their phone for 9:29, either AM or PM. And each day we ask that you pray for the unborn, pray courage for the mothers faced with an unplanned pregnancy, and pray for our legislators to overturn laws that allow for the destruction of life. The scripture is Mark 9:29, and it says this kind can only come out through prayer and fasting. It will take much of our effort. Are we willing to do this for the next generation? In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., and adapted for us, one of the great glories of democracy is the right to protest for right. If you will protest courageously and yet with dignity and Christian love, when the history books are written in future generations, the historians will pause and say, there lived a great people in South Australia who injected new meaning and dignity in the veins of Australia. So let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we are going to reap a harvest if we do not give up. So it's now my absolute pleasure to introduce Christopher Bowden. He's the South Australian Director for the ACL, the Australian Christian Lobby, and he's a huge part of all that we've been doing behind the scenes. So welcome, Christopher.
Thank you, Jodie, and just make sure you keep a walkway clear so people can walk. A long time ago, the mother of the second wisest man who ever lived, Solomon, said to him, open your mouth for the dumb, for the rights of all who are desolate. Open your mouth, judge righteously, plead the cause of the poor and needy. And we are here today to uphold and ask our legislators that they fulfill that solemn mandate. And we are here today to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, and to tell our legislators that this is their solemn duty. We come to speak on behalf of those who most cannot speak for themselves, the unborn. They have no voice, but we here promise that we are their voice. We speak for for them, and we say no to abortion up to birth in South Australia. No to abortion of viable babies. But we also speak for the mums who are without voice because they are either coerced expressly into abortion or more seriously, impliedly coerced by a system, by doctors, by politicians, who even school teachers who funnel them into abortion without giving them proper information, without telling them about the procedures, without telling them about the consequences, and without telling them about the alternatives. We here are to speak for them. But we are also here to speak for the fathers, the disenfranchised, fathers who have no voice in this. And we reject utterly those politicians who would assert that men have no voice in this. Where there are viable human lives, we have a voice, we will speak, and we will say they have a right to live. Misinformation is a term that's been used in this campaign, and we have been accused of misinformation. That is wrong. What we have said from the start is that this bill allows abortion to birth, and that is correct. The State Attorney General said on ABC Radio in response to me in November, in answer to a question, does this bill allow abortion to birth? And that opponents are saying that. She said that is not correct. She is wrong. And we bring before the parliamentarians that this bill allows abortion up to and including birth, and we must reject that. But there is another piece of misinformation that's been peddled, and it was said today in Parliament by Paula Luton, that under the current law, abortion is available for mental health reasons after 28 weeks. That is not correct. And far more expertly than I can, Professor Joanna Howe will unpack that. That is not correct, and we must tell our parliamentarians that what they are doing is changing the law. They cannot hide under the cover that somehow this is allowed under the current law. It is not. But we're also here today to remind people. And we solemnly say to those parliamentarians who will support the amendments proffered by Minister David Spears, who will vote against abortion to birth and will support David Spears' amendments, that we will not forget them. We will support them from now to the election. We will stand with them as a community. We will support them as they fulfill their duty, fulfill that solemn obligation to speak for the voices. But we make another solemn pledge today, and that is to every MP, particularly those in marginal seats who may not support the Spears amendments, who are sitting on the fence, who are contemplating supporting abortion to birth. We will not forget you. We will remind this community that you did not stand for the unborn. You did not fulfill your solemn obligation, and we will see, God willing, that you will lose your seats in the next election. We make that solemn pledge to every MP who votes for abortion to birth. So we are here today to love them both. The mum, the child, but to love them all, the disenfranchised fathers. And we are here as a community saying to our politicians, abortion to birth in SA, not in SA. No way, not now, not ever. It's now my great privilege to calm this down a bit and introduce Associate Professor Joanne Howe. Joanne's a law professor and a Rhodes Scholar. Joanne.
Thank you. So I've been asked to clear up some misinformation about the bill, and there are two myths that I want to address today. And the first myth that just keeps getting said is that the law, the proposed bill, does not change the current law on abortion, on late-term abortions. The Australian Medical Association has even said, and I quote, With respect to late-term abortions, the bill will have no effect on current medical practices. And that is simply untrue, and the AMA should know better. At the moment, under the current law, a late-term abortion is not possible unless it is to save the mother's life. Under 82A7 of the Act, if the baby is capable of being born alive, and medical science says that is 22 weeks and 6 days. So once a baby passes that threshold and they are 23 weeks gestation, it is not possible to end the life of that baby under the current law unless the mother's life is gravely at risk. Now this is the mother's physical life. In Parliament today we heard a politician stand up and say that it is possible to abort a baby after 23 weeks for mental health reasons under the law. It is not possible. It is not possible to abort a baby for mental health reasons under the current law after 23 weeks. The only reason is to save the life of the mother. But this truth that I'm talking to you about today hasn't stopped our Attorney General, Vicky Chapman, writing in yesterday's Advertiser, and I quote, she wrote, "The current debate regarding abortion is not whether it should be lawful. That was settled over 50 years ago." The Attorney General's claim in the Advertiser is misleading and we need to call her out. The Attorney General is right when she says that the law is settled on the legality of abortions up to 22 weeks and 6 days. But she is misleading, she is wrong, it is completely a falsehood to say that the law is settled on the legality of babies after 22 weeks and 6 days. This is an untruth. The law is not settled on the legality of a late-term abortion after gestational viability. This is the very purpose of her bill. If it wasn't doing anything, why would she be introducing this bill? The very purpose of the bill is to make abortion legal after 22 weeks and 6 days for any reason that is medically appropriate that two doctors agree on. This is the fundamental change of the bill, and we know it. Clause 6 of the bill being debated in Parliament tonight says that if two doctors think it is medically appropriate, then it is okay to end the life of the fetus, even a fetus that is capable of being born alive. Medically appropriate can include a wide range of reasons. This could include a woman's mental health, physical health, socio-economic circumstances, psychosocial reasons. In reality, Vicky Chapman's bill allows abortion until birth for a wide range of reasons. If it passes, there will no longer be any protection for the human rights of a baby capable of being born alive. Now, this isn't something that only people of faith should care about. This is something that all South Australians should fight for. In a society where we strive to protect the vulnerable, where we care about the rights of the vulnerable, we care about children, we care about migrants, we care about the unemployed, we care about those on welfare, where we care about the vulnerable, and we seek to protect human rights at all possible occasion, we should care first and foremost about the human rights of babies that are capable of being born alive. Our current law gets it right when it says that an in utero baby has human rights, that a 23-week-old baby is capable of living independently of the mother, that it would be completely wrong to end the life that ambulance is something that an in utero baby at 23 weeks does not have a right to, and we do not allow life-saving medical treatment to babies in the womb. Let's hear that siren and recognise that we need to protect the human rights of in utero babies that are capable of being born alive. It is wrong to end the life of the baby unless it is immediately necessary to save the mother's life. This is the current law. This is what is at stake tonight. We need to call out the misinformation that the bill makes. no change to the illegality of late-term abortions. Now the second myth, that's not the only myth. The second myth that I want to speak about tonight is that the bill will have no effect on late-term abortions. And it's not just the AMA. I'm ashamed to say, as a law professor, that it's the SA Law Society who has written and is quoted in the Advertiser as saying that they really should know better as the SA Law Society. But what they said is the bill will have no material impact on the number of late-term abortions, as abortions can already be procured lawfully and late-term abortions are rare. Let's unpack that, shall we? Now, as I've just explained, abortion is illegal after 22 weeks and 6 days at present, unless it's to save the mother's life. So they can't be procured lawfully after 22 weeks and 6 days. So that's just one lie debunked. Let's move on to the next one. Of course it doesn't take a genius to realise that late-term abortions are rare at the moment, and that's because, as I've explained, they're illegal. I hate it. I keep hearing the AMA, the SA Law Society, the Attorney General, this won't increase the number of late-term abortions because they are rare. They're only rare at the moment because the law protects those babies. Obviously, if that strict limitation gets removed, as this bill proposes, then late-term abortions will become more common. So that's another lie debunked. But what about the claim that the AMA makes that the number of late-term abortions have not increased in other states which have similar laws to what's being debated tonight? And the AMA says that late-term abortions only happen when the mother's life is at risk or because of physical health problem to do with the baby or in cases of rape or incest. Again, these arguments are simply not true. The evidence doesn't support this. Victoria has had abortion up until birth since 2008. And since that time, there have been over 600 babies after 23 weeks gestation who have been aborted for psychosocial reasons. A psychosocial reason has nothing to do with a medical problem with the baby or the mother. So the evidence doesn't bear out the AMA's claim that late-term abortions only happen for a very narrow set of reasons. And what are the consequences of allowing abortion until birth? Tragically, in Victoria in 2011, a baby was aborted for psychosocial reasons at 37 weeks. In 2009, 4 babies were aborted at 37 weeks in Victoria for psychosocial reasons. 37 weeks is full term. My own son, Jesse, was born at 37 weeks at Flinders. What sort of society are we where we say if a life is unwanted, then it doesn't mean anything and we can end that life? And at the same time say if the life is wanted, then that's a human being. What kind of Australian society is that? These 5 Victorian babies were aborted when they were in perfect health. There was nothing wrong with them. It was not needed to save their mum's life. They were aborted for a psychosocial reason. And you know, the consequence of allowing abortion until birth in South Australia is that more babies will be born alive through a failed abortion. And under this bill, it means that they will be left to die on the operating table. This is no myth. In our society today, we allow babies to be born alive through a failed abortion and just left there to die. And yet, in the same breath, when I had my babies at Flinders, I was told breastfeed straight away, skin-to-skin contact, because the baby's wanted, we've got to just, give them everything that they need. But when they're unwanted, we leave them on a cold operating table to breathe it out until they die. Since Victoria allowed abortion until birth in 2008, there have been 304 babies who have been born alive during a failed abortion and left alone and uncared for on an operating table until they die. These babies have no right to life-saving medical treatment under Australian law. We as South Australians need to unite, all of us, people of faith and everybody who cares about human rights and about the vulnerable. And we need to call out the lies that this bill doesn't change anything. It does. Make no mistake, this bill is extremely dangerous for unborn babies who are capable of being born alive. I urge all parliamentarians to reject this bill, which will change the law and will allow abortion until birth. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor John. Okay, we're going to hear from a wonderful woman called Catherine. She is part of our younger generation and they are leading the charge for the pro-life generation. Catherine.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine. I'm studying a Bachelor of Disability and Developmental Studies. As a young woman, I choose to oppose the abortion to birth bill, a bill that may have a propensity to devalue children who are born with a disability. Something I have found throughout my education is the stigma and stereotypes people with disability receive. We want a society where children are welcomed and wanted, including those with a disability. More education and support can be offered to women who choose to have a baby with a disability and is genuinely not in a position to care for a child. The need for adoption is something that can ensure that every life is counted for. We live in the 21st century and should be introducing bills that support people with disabilities, because at the end of the day, the issue is supporting a human life. We are promoting a bill that would mean if a baby is suspected to have a disability and it's not known for sure, then abortion up to birth is offered. Instead of giving the baby a chance to live and celebrating life entering into this world, we promote abortion to birth. As a society, we are doing our best to promote an ideology that validates lives of people with a disability. We should offer more support for such cases, and allowing abortion to birth is not the answer. Throughout my education, I have studied the human lifespan. In the womb, the baby develops all 5 senses. The first sense that is developed is a sense of touch. That continues to further develop, and by 17 weeks the baby can feel and responds to touch. When the baby is born, they have the ability to wiggle their arms, to move their legs, they can grasp onto your hand. The baby can turn their face to their caregiver's voice. They can hear different sounds that are soothing and voices that are also soothing. So the baby is fully developed. Let's provide avenues to support women and to provide more resources into options like adoption for those who are genuinely not in a position to care for a child. We know that babies are viable outside of the womb from 23 weeks. The baby needs to be delivered anyway. We simply ask that the baby be delivered alive. There are so many couples who can't have children and families who would love to adopt and open their hearts and their homes. Let's give support and let's love them both. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So I'd now like to introduce Bishop Silliman of Sonobi from the Greek Orthodox Church. Bishop Silliman is one of the great champions for all the social causes, but especially for life. He has defended life publicly for a very long time. So let's hear from Bishop now.
Dear beloved, from the very first day of life, the name of every unborn child is written in the palm of God's hand. All the days ordained for us and for every unborn child are indeed written in God's book of life. But today, the enemies of this, the enemies of God, seek to erase the names of his children, to blot out their days in the book of life by laws proposed to be written in this very Parliament. We know how evil these laws are. It will strip away all humanity from the child in the womb, casting him or her out into the darkness beyond the protection of the law. There he or she will be attacked by wolves in doctor's clothing, literally torn from the limb in late-term abortion. We have all seen the medical diagrams of what is to be done to these babies without any pain relief at an age when doctors tell us that they do indeed feel pain. As we've said before from these very steps, if you did to an animal what proposed legislation will allow doctors to do to human babies, you will be put into jail. We've heard it said even most recently that even ducks will have more protection than human babies inside of their mother's womb. Sadly, this same very bill in New South Wales, the Premier gave 5 months to an inquiry into the cruelty of animals, but only 5 days into an inquiry into this cruelty done to babies. I am grateful to God and to our Parliament in South Australia that this is not the same. And it's a credit to those in front of me and those behind. Why do people want such an abominable law? We are told it's because women want the right to choose what to do with their own bodies. Of course, women can choose what they do with their own bodies, but there is another body here which is not the woman's body. The right to life, the right not to kill, is the cornerstone of all law. Thou shalt not kill was written in stone by the finger of God. Never before has the Parliament of South Australia permitted intentionally killing in its law, and a law of man that goes against the law of God is no law at all. As loyal Australians, law-abiding citizens, we do belong to a caring nation. It is true that we are all a caring people, no matter which side of the fence we stand on this one. It is proven that we provide the most generous support in the world for those who are sick or disabled, for the poor, and for refugees fleeing violence. Sadly, it is within the gift of this rich and caring society to support a woman who is distressed by unplanned pregnancy, whose baby is suffering a disability, whose partner is rejecting her and coercing her into an abortion. She and her baby need protection against violence, and they need loving help through a difficult and often lonely time. May God bless all of you here today who have worked for many years to support pregnant women in distress, and those of you who continue to fight for the just laws that protect innocent life. May God bring light to the mind and conscience of the lawmakers of South Australia, that they may continue to defend the most defenceless members of our human family, and not to establish barbaric laws that are diametrically opposed to the law of God. It is interesting that proponents of the abortion to bill birth will not publicly say that the bill won't allow abortion to birth. This is because they know it will allow abortion to birth. When asked the question, they try and dodge the question by answering directly. Instead of saying yes it will, they instead say late-term abortions are rare. The implication is that because they are rare, we don't have to worry about them. This may be true, but how rare are they really? Let's take 3 statistics from South Australia in 2017. In 2017, there were 55 homicide-related offences, 100 deaths in motor vehicle accidents, and 111 abortions post 20 weeks of gestation. As you can see, late-term abortion is more common than motor vehicle deaths and death by homicide. No one would dare claim that these problems are rare, nor imply that we shouldn't worry about them. Each one involves a tragic loss of life, and we, quite rightly, spend a lot of money and energy on prevention. When proponents of abortion to bill claim that late-term abortion is rare, they are referring to the fact that they only make up a small percentage of all abortions, around 2.6% of all abortions in 2017. It is true that the percentage is small, but it is not because late-term abortions are rare, it's because, sadly, abortions are exceedingly common. There were 4,349 abortions in 2017, an average of 12 per day or 1 every 2 hours. Pointing to low numbers of late-term abortions in South Australia currently carries no weight, as we heard from the professor that spoke so violently to us, and that is because abortion is illegal after 24 weeks. So of course the numbers of late-term abortions will be low. However, as we heard, experience in Victoria has shown that these numbers are only going up. Those who are sitting on the fence about the abortion to birth bill need to learn the lessons from Victoria, where this has been legal since 2008. Every year since 2008, there have been an average of 65 late-term abortions, that is past 23 weeks gestation, for physical social indicators. To emphasise once again, psychosocial indicators is a catchphrase for any reason that is not directly medical. For example, a social indicator could be, I lost my job, I'm not able to finish my studies if this pregnancy continues. And a psychological indicator might be, I will be upset if the pregnancy continues. There are also more serious psychosocial indicators, but the important thing to remember about them all is that they are not medical emergencies. In all of these cases, it would be possible to terminate the pregnancy by having the child born alive and offered for adoption. At 28 weeks, a child has 80% chances of survival, and this increases rapidly. Perhaps most disturbing is the case in 2011, where we heard a child was aborted at 37 plus weeks gestation for social indicators. And another example, a child in 2014 born in Victoria between 32 and 36 weeks was born alive but died after birth as a result of a termination for social indicators. Dear beloved, we would be foolish to think that these tragedies won't happen here in South Australia as well. The Attorney General, Vicky Chapman, has said only today, there is no such thing as abortion to birth. This is an absolute lie. And to end, a few lines later, in her concluding summary, she actually said the following statement: regardless of whether I am right or wrong. Well, Miss Chapman, you are incredibly wrong. And in your own words, you said this is about individual choice and the autonomy of the patient. This is not the case. We are all here to say, in response, love them both and let them live.
Thank you, Bishop. It's now my honour to introduce to you two of our wonderful MPs, one from the Liberal, one from Labor. So we've got Minister David Spears making his way up, and Shadow Minister Tom Coutts-Thomas, and they're going to let us know what's going on.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here tonight just to address you. I've never addressed a rally like this in my life. It's really not my style at all. I wanted really to come along and thank you for taking the time to come out and stand up for what you believe in, and to provide us parliamentarians who are fighting the good fight inside in the chamber, for providing us with the encouragement and the support and the compassion. And compassion is important here, and I want to remind us all of that today. We have to undertake these discussions and debates with a great deal of compassion, care and love, because that is how we will win these arguments. The second reading contributions from members of Parliament are occurring today. We are likely to wind those up in a couple of hours' time, and then we will go into what is known as committee stage of the bill tomorrow, and that's when we will dig into each clause. We will look at amendments, and people like Tom and myself will try to move amendments to make this bill a bit better. It will be, some of our amendments, I hope, will be successful, and I do hope that we will make this bill more palatable to you people who are rallying here today. I want this bill to be a bill that I can vote for, because I support the movement of termination of pregnancy from the criminal code to the health code. I think there's a level of appropriateness around that in 2021, but I want to be able to vote for a bill that has a whole range of protections in place that just aren't there at the moment. And so we have a large number of amendments. For me, the threshold amendment is to significantly restrict that pathway to late-term abortion. That's the most important one for me. And I'm very proud to be moving that amendment in my name. Now, I know everyone here supports that approach, but we need a majority of people inside, a majority of the 47 members of the House of Assembly to back that position. So thanks for your support, thanks for your rallying, thanks for reaching out to your members of Parliament and having your say. We could not do this without people standing up, feeling confident and safe and proud enough to make these contributions. So thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Coutts-Thomas. I'm a Labor Member of Parliament from the Adelaide. I'm going to echo everything David has said. We do need compassion. We need to show love and affinity for the unborn, for people who want to come. And we have a responsibility as parliamentarians to look at this legislation and do what we think is right. And that can be difficult. But the point that I want to make is that most South Australians sitting at home aren't aware of what's going on inside. And many of them support, like David said, the quite reasonable position of in the 21st century having abortion regulated within the Healthcare Act rather than the Criminal Code. And that has been used by some proponents to try and bring in some other reforms but I think most South Australians think are quite radical. I don't believe that South Australians, given the opportunity to look at this legislation, would overwhelmingly endorse it. David's moving, I think, a threshold amendment, which is the protections for late-term abortions. The amendments that I am moving are moved really out of what I've discovered during this debate. I had no concept or idea that babies during abortions are born alive. I had no idea that that occurred in the 20th, let alone the 21st century. So one of the amendments that I'll be moving is that if a baby does survive an abortion, that medical assistance must be given legally to that. The other amendments, and of course I'll be moving that only if David is unsuccessful in moving his amendment. The other amendment I'll be moving is that all of these procedures, if David's amendment is not passed, be done only in public hospitals. I don't want to see for-profit clinics opening up everywhere across Adelaide. That really concerns me. And the last part of my amendment is I don't want to see any of the, what they call technically fecal matter, or what we're talking about is their babies, to have their bodies sold for profit. All of this sounds horrific, and I never thought in my 23 years in Parliament I'd have to move amendments like this. But we do. And we need to speak to reasonable people, our neighbours, because what's lost in this debate, as in all debates usually, the first casualty is the truth. And whenever you tell people what's actually occurring, you're put into a corner. Oh, you're just pro-life. You're just a Christian. Well, I have to say, the more we look, the more we open our eyes, the more we're horrified with what we're finding, which is why David and I and others are doing what we can to try and make this bill better. We might not succeed. We might not succeed. I'm confident, but I'm a born pessimist. I'm in the Labor Party, I'm a born pessimist. But I think if we work hard, we can get this through. What we need from you is to continue to do what you're doing. Thank you very much. But personally, for all of us, the prayers. Prayers and prayers. Thank you very much. All the very best. And I also thank my Bishop Sullivan, Mr. Norby, and all of our clergy. We've done so much to collect petitions, to raise awareness, and all the pastors, and all the priests, and all the communities are raising awareness for this bill. Thank you for your labour.
Thank you for our wonderful MPs, championing life in South Australia. Thank you. Now, last week at the Walk for Life, there was a wonderful woman called Becky, you're going to meet her right now, and she walked away after being very impacted, which all of us were. Here she is, and she is a musician, and with all that she heard, she was so moved that she had to put that emotion down into a song. And she sent it to us, and so we want you to hear it now. Hello, yes, my name is Beck, and yes, I attended the walk about 10 days ago, and yeah, my heart just ached. God put an ache on my heart, and He brought forth a song, From the Heart the Mouth Speaks. And like you, I'm here today because I'm motivated to love them both. This song that I'm about to sing for you is an echo of that motivation to love them both. Every line in the song can be looked upon from the perspective of the child, the unborn, but also from the mother. because life in the womb is important and the mother is important. Two voices, one song, to love them both. In the bridge it says, don't let the darkness come for me, and we know that for the child, the darkness in abortion is death, and for the mother who may choose abortion, the darkness can be depression and regret that may follow afterwards. So yeah, please hear the echo of love and love. race every single day is an organisation called Genesis Pregnancy Support. I've been privileged to be the chairman there for many years, and now I want to introduce you to the Executive Officer of Genesis, Julie Sharp, and she's going to let you know just how important the work is that Genesis and other pregnancy help centres do. I'll be brief because you've been wonderful waiting here. But I've just been thinking, when we win this bill, and a win is stopping abortion to birth, right? The rest we can chip away at a bit at a time. When we win this bill, I've been dreaming up a car rego plate for South Australia. It says, South Australia, the humanitarian state. But I want to draw your attention to this, and it's coming from the services that we deliver at Genesis. One of the hardest things I've had to face, I think, in the last 2 years of fighting this bill is having the proponents from the other side accuse me or accuse us of not caring for women when we spend 5 days a week, every day, voluntarily giving our time to try and help them. Now, you're all holding signs. Some say love them both. How are we going to do that? Well, we're fighting for one of them, aren't we? To save their life. But we need to fight for the other one as well too. And we say we're pro-life, pro-woman, pro-child. Well, how can you be pro-woman? Well, let me tell you what Genesis does. For about the last 20 years that I've been at the helm, we've done nothing but try to introduce services that give her a chance to choose life for her child. So one of those things is, and it's a beginning preventative, is we're in schools teaching over 3,000 students a year what a good relationship looks like, what the consequences of casual sex are, how they can have something good and lifelong and meaningful. And so it's preventative, so they don't end up with an unplanned pregnancy. That's one way. Another way is we provide pregnancy crisis counselling. So when a woman looks at a pregnancy test and has that heart-failing moment of, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant, what am I going to do? And believe me, one of the hardest things she has to do is tell the father of that child. She is so scared to do that. We are available to her for free for counselling at that stage and any support that she might need for mediation. We talk about all her options, but we make sure she is fully informed about the consequences of each of those choices and the procedures she will walk through with each of those choices, including abortion, what that will involve for her, and what sometimes the negative outcomes of that can be. Another service that we provide is free material assistance, free cots, pushes, prams, for those girls that are single and left alone and they make the tough choice to go ahead with their pregnancy all alone. We have to stand by them. We also have second-hand baby clothes shops, so that if she's not completely unsupported but is marginalised financially, she can get beautiful quality second-hand baby clothes from our baby clothes shop. Another service that we offer is young mum support groups, so that when she loses her friends because the baby's interesting for a month but then it's a bore and she doesn't know how to establish a new peer group, she can join a mummy link group. Another thing that we offer is 6 consecutive weekend live-in programs to teach parenting skills. So if at the point of making a decision she decides for termination because she's too scared to parent on her own, we can offer her free entry into that program to be supported and mentored with basic parenting skills so she gets confidence. We have, and on the other end of the scale, we have post-abortion recovery healing retreat weekends for those unfortunate women who made that choice, who were pressured, coerced, moved through the
and have lifelong regrets, they can come to our weekend retreats and find healing, forgiveness, and can move on with their lives. So what can you do? Well, support is the answer. You can support the support. Right? Where Genesis has just taken a huge leap of faith a week ago and bought a house that is able to accommodate mums. All we have to do now is pay for it. So please, as we push back, and of course, first of all, the fight is to save the defenceless little ones' lives, to speak for them and stand up for them. Think of the mum. Think of this current society that tells her casual sex is fun and without consequence. Think of how she feels when the decision is left totally to her and she's all on her own with that so-called right and privilege that she has. Let's think of ways of supporting her. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, so much. Thank you, Genesis. Now, these are our last two speakers. We've got another two from the pro-life generation. We've got Faith and we've got Ashley, and we want to hear from them now. They are a real powerhouse for life.
Hey everyone, I just want to say firstly, you all look fantastic, by the way. So thank you everyone for coming out. I love this slogan that says, love them both, because we're not just pro-child, we are pro-women. And abortion hurts women. Abortion to birth enables more, Abortion to birth enables more sustained exposure to coercion. It's a bit of a tongue twister. But the number of women presenting to abortion may appear to suggest it is something that is wanted. But if we observe the statistics and stories of women who have had abortions, we see a very different story being told. A study on the link between domestic violence and abortion found that 30% of women having second abortions were in abusive relationships. Allowing for abortion to birth does not fix the problem, it only makes it worse. Women are maternal. They were created to carry life. To allow abortion to birth to pass leaves more women susceptible to abuse for longer. Instead of carrying a life, they will carry the trauma of the loss of that child for the rest of their life, knowing that that child could have lived. We understand this current bill says it will protect women by stating that coercion will amount to domestic violence. But how can this be policed? How would we even be able to know? We cannot ensure that women will be protected, and chances are they won't be. Abortion hurts women. We know that post-abortion, women experience significant increased risk of substance abuse, depression, anxiety, suicide, suicidal ideation, and the list goes on. How can we say we care about women if we don't care about the effects that abortion to birth will have on them? Not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. Abortion hurts women. Abortion to birth will hurt them even more. And that is why we say no to abortion to birth in South Australia.
Nelson Mandela once said that there can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way it treats its children. Today we speak for the unborn child for the sake of the soul of our nation. A nation that says you are worthy because of your inalienable right as a human creature. And these are children we are talking about here today. These are children who at 24 weeks are a foot long. They feel pain. They are alive. We speak for the unborn because we know that there is a mystery and a purpose for every life. Take Jordan and Patrick's story. At 22 weeks, Jordan's baby was diagnosed with Dandy-Walker syndrome, a condition that would require surgery at birth, lead to developmental delays and seizures among other symptoms. They were advised to abort. They chose to go through with the pregnancy. At 38 weeks, Patrick was born. Soon after birth, an MRI excluded any possibility of the syndrome. Patrick is now a healthy boy of almost 5 years. He has received NDIS funding and with early intervention is progressing well. He just topped his kindergarten class in assessments of language and image recognition. His story has just begun. Who knows where it might end? In the end, we are human, fallible, and sometimes get it wrong. We speak for the unborn because we know that for each there is a story and it needs to be read. Patrick and his mum are just in front of me apparently. Woo! And so, we speak for the unborn because we love them both. We love the mother, the woman carrying a miracle inside of her, but who may be feeling achingly alone and desperately sad. And we say together, we love you. You are not alone. We will walk with you. And we love the child, that precious silent voice, that perfectly formed creation. To that child we say, you have a voice. We will speak for you. You are a gift. You are a child. You are alive. So we love them both. And we're here today asking that we as a society would be known by the way we treat our children. That the way we treat our children would reveal that we are a society who is truly pro-woman, pro-child and pro-life. We are a society who truly loves them both.
Thank you, Faith and Ashley. So, for all of us who were at the Walk for Life last week, you heard from our youngest participant when we listened to her heartbeat while she was still in the womb of her mother. In fact, she's still there. She's now 30 weeks and her mother's saying, please come now. But anyway, so we recorded her heartbeat and we would like you to hear it once again because this strong, amazing heartbeat that we heard is not protected under this law, this bill that is trying to come. So let's have a listen for the next minute, and instead of having a minute's silence, let's just think about all these precious babies as we listen to this heartbeat. So when we first turned on the music, they came out and said, can you please turn it down because they can hear it in the chamber. So let's let them hear us. I'm sure that they're hearing us now. Please let us love them both. This is what we want in South Australia. We need to make a difference in our country. We can be the first state to choose a different path. They've always thought that South Australians are a little bit strange,
And we like to do things different over here, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to love them both. Now we're going to finish tonight with Pastor Anne. She's on the board of Love Adelaide, and she's going to finish with a prayer for us all. Thank you.
Thank you. It's wonderful to see everyone here with one heart and one mind, and we are in agreement with the heartbeat of heaven. And so I just want to thank you, Father, on behalf of everyone here and everyone who stands for life, because you've given us life. You introduced us to love, your own Son. You've introduced us to mercy as we receive mercy for all of our sin. And we receive it on behalf of the state of South Australia even today. We receive your mercy and we agree, we come into agreement with life. We agree that you are the resurrection and the life. You are the way, the truth and the life. And we agree with the heartbeat of heaven that you're the Father who gives every good gift that comes down from the Father of lights. And at conception, light happens. A spark of light, which is the life of Christ, comes into that, whatever it is, that egg and sperm. And so, Father, we just bless that now. We say life is sacred because it's given by you. And you value us, you treasure each one of us, and we value and treasure what you value and treasure. So we say we are one. We will not relent, we will not stay silent, we will not use what we've been given for our own selfish ways, but we lay our lives down as you have, and we ask, Lord, that we will have the same spirit as Queen Esther, where she was willing to go forth and put her life on the line for her people. And we say the unborn, the yet to be born in this state are our people. And we put ourselves there now, and we thank you that our voice has been heard, that the amendments are being spoken one after the other, after the other, after the other. The voice is being heard for the unborn, for the things in this bill that are so treacherous and so ridiculous and horrible. And we thank you, Lord, that you caused everyone, each one of us, to be born for such a time as this. So I just release a blessing of the Father, Jesus Christ the Son, and the Holy Spirit on each person here, each person who hears this prayer, and each person who does not even know you. We send the blood of Jesus out over this city and over this state, and we declare that life and conscience votes will be in line with your heartbeat, Father, in Jesus' powerful name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Anne. So thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for standing here for the last bit over an hour. So in closing, we want to also thank you once again for your attendance. This is amazing that you've come at such short notice. Please don't forget the services of Genesis Pregnancy Support and Birthline Pregnancy Support. If you know anybody who is suffering after abortion, please reach out. There is help and there is hope. Please remember all of those signs need to come back to us, please. So before you leave, they can go down the front. Don't move just yet. And please remember to put your the 9:29 at 29 minutes past 9. Please put it on your phones and let's lift up. There's that siren again. You always got to remember that now, won't you? Please remember that James reminds us that the earnest prayer of a righteous person has great power and produces wonderful results. So please keep praying. Tomorrow we actually do have the steps booked at 8:30 until 9:30, and we've also again got it booked at 1:15. So if anyone would like to come and keep praying and then be rotating into the 23 spots that are available in the gallery, please come and join us. Thank you all so much. On behalf of Love Adelaide, we thank you for coming. Take care, guys.